Hello, today I have a message called Perceptions Corrected. And as I was getting ready to record, I was getting an explanation of things in general. So before I give you the outline, I will share that explanation I got. So in the past, most of my messages were written, but then I would record them too. And then maybe once a week or once in a while, I would make a message like this that was more chatty, where I'd have the outline, but then I would speak from the outline. And now it's pretty much every other day. I go back and forth, and I was just told this is a way, the primary function of this is just unwinding you, just undoing the blocks you're holding on to, and you seem to come at it from two different ways, and this is the appropriate balance of speaking versus writing right now. This is helping you. Well, in my past, I did a lot of escapist reading, a lot of just losing myself in fiction, which is exactly what we've done in time and space. We've lost ourselves in fiction. So now everything that I gathered, the apparent abilities that I gathered by interfacing with language so much, that's being used just now in this way. But then I was shown for someone else, it might be walking, the insights that come to them while they're walking. And of course, not just one thing. Everything we do can be used as a way for spirit to communicate to and through us. Or for someone else, it might be painting. And for any of us, no one might see a product, a discernible product of our process of unwinding, learning and unlearning, remembering, becoming aware. For one of us, maybe that person would write a book and it would become extremely famous, and for another of us, nothing would be seen. And it's all exactly the same. Whatever connections we're supposed to have, we have. And every connection, even if it's very few, let's say you only see your mail carrier, you live on in some remote place, you only see your mail carrier, right? That doesn't matter, because we're all in your mind. We're all together in mind. There is only one of us. So whether it appears to be big or small, your number of connections or the number of people that seem to notice you in some role, none of that matters. We're always in the right place at the right time. That can't be undone. And we're always given the proper, exactly right opportunities to allow our blocks to love to be undone. So that we can be sure of. And when I was given the title for this today, Perceptions Corrected, it echoed something I remembered, and I remembered hearing, I was listening to some news, and somebody from the Trump administration said, promises made, promises kept, and they sounded very certain, very decisive. So this is without judging that person or anybody on any side, positively or negatively. There seemed to be such a definite certainty in those words, right? So when I heard this title, it was like that, Perceptions Corrected, and I felt, whoa, that's guaranteed, that's sure, that's certain. Okay, I'm not saying anyone should believe a particular person. I'm just saying the feeling that this came to me with is that it's certain that our perceptions are going to be corrected, and we can relax and rely on that. Okay, so the outline. When it becomes harder to make decisions from the wrong part of your mind, that is a good thing. The mind that thinks it knows, separate from others, thinks it knows both good and bad. When the mind asks to have its perceptions corrected, it's still seeing pure invention. But it's an invention streaming purely from the goodness without opposite that we all are. The more you can keep your mind focused upon the goodness without opposite that we all are, the more your decisions stream from where we all are. And just think of doing, I know I'm interrupting my short version, but it came to mind, just think of doing that if anyone political is speaking about anything. That we keep our attention on the goodness without opposite, not on any opposites dancing on the surface. These messages are the general marching orders from which the specific marching orders can stream. I had a little bit of reactiveness when I heard that and I considered changing it, but I did leave it, and I'll go over that when I get to it. Okay, so back to when it becomes harder to make decisions from the wrong part of your mind, that is a good thing. You may experience this. You reach a decision point and there's a pause or an openness, or if the ego is going to color that in, the ego is going to call it indecision, hesitation. But remember, the ego is always the first to try to tell you what to do. And it's only when you pause and say, I know the ego will jump in there first and blah, blah, blah. But what I really want to hear is the voice of reason, that is my true voice and the true voice of everyone, our harmonic voice. I would like our harmonic voice to tell me what the decision is in this situation. So when it seems harder to come to a decision, or, not quite as smooth as it was, that's actually good, because you're learning to stop and wait and listen. When it becomes harder to make decisions from the wrong part of your mind, that is a good thing. And when we seem very certain and insistent that something has to be a certain way, and there's tension in that insistence, we haven't dropped ego's input yet, and that's okay. Because if you notice the tension, the edge, the force, the insistence, if you notice that, that's the first step in healing. So you're not beyond healing in any moment. The mind that thinks it knows, separate from others, thinks it knows both good and bad. So listening to that member of the Trump administration, I could think that that member is good or bad, and I could think the people that one talks about or describes are good or bad, and I'd be wrong, because that's the fiction I'm making up. That's the fiction I already made up. That's already been washed away, but somehow I'm still experiencing it. That's the crazy part. So I can't know anything in time and space, and I have to accept that. I think I know things, but the only things I can think I know in time and space are fictions about the illusion. I can accept that without panic, because I know there's a greater awareness that can run everything, and I can rely on that. So I forgot what I was going to say, so I'm just waiting for it to come back. Okay, the greater awareness is being underlined, and now I remember. Okay, while I can't know anything in time and space, I return to knowing after I've dropped the fiction of time and space. And knowing has always been it belongs to all of us, but we're denying it while we're experiencing time and space. I can remember, though. I can remember who you and I and everyone are together. I can become aware. I can become aware of what is here, of the love that is here in everyone and everything, of the light that's here in everyone and everything. And I can experience in alignment with my remembrance and my awareness. I can have my perception corrected. So while I can't know anything, until I give up the fiction of time and space, seem to leave it and return to what I actually am with you, I can't know anything. I can be aware. I can remember. And my experience can be used in the service of that awareness and remembrance. And as I look at you and see you seemingly over there, seemingly separate from me, your experience, I can see that your experience is also being used in the service of our awareness of what we are, of what is real, and our remembrance of what is real, also remembering what is unreal, and that there's no need to focus on the unreal. Okay. What did I say? The mind that thinks it knows, separate from others, thinks it knows both good and bad. So the ego has its good, and that's a huge distraction. That can distract us for a long time, but the distraction is temporary. We choose to be distracted. So as we do our work, and when we don't feel good, and we notice how we feel, and we find one thought attached to that, and we set the thought down for a moment, and we remember something like, God is the light in which I see. And we focus on seeing and light and God beyond any opposites the ego would be showing us. Then we give perception a chance to be corrected in a way that helps us remember who we are, in a way that helps us become aware of who we are and what is real and what is not real. But this way would never set us against anybody, and this way would never lead us to pick individual things out and judge them especially positively and especially negatively. It's more of an overall willingness to let the light that's within everything unfurl and extend and show itself. To know that it's there and to allow it to show itself, because we know that it's more real than anything the ego would talk to us about, than any good that would be in comparison to a bad. So we could see children as especially good or especially innocent, and adults as especially guilty and especially bad. But we have to drop that. We have to drop every dividing line that ego tells us keeps us safe, and rely on the light to show us. You see this surface, but what's behind the surface? That's what we invite in. When the mind asks to have its perceptions corrected, it's still seeing pure invention. I still seem to be in time and space. I still seem to be in an illusion. It's an invention streaming purely from the goodness without opposite that we all are. Because God gave us the Holy Spirit. When we invented our hellscape of good versus bad ending in death, even though there appears to be good here, that's the tricky part. Like The Good Place, if you've watched The Good Place. I was just being tempted by an egoic reaction, so thus the pause. Okay. Anyhow, it's an invention streaming purely from the goodness without opposite that we all are. And we can let that illusion come online for us. There's no reason to hold it back. It's an illusion that would show us how safe everyone is. It's a dream that would show us how loved everyone is. It's a fantasy that, because our minds are now guided by the harmonic voice we share, shows us how loving all of us are, how beautiful all of us are without any exceptions. And that's a safe hallucination to have. So before we can give up our binky or our blankie of hallucination, in the wisdom of the Holy Spirit, we're guided into a benign, harmless, innocent hallucination. And this is entirely possible. And it's possible very quickly through miracles, which are perception corrections. We can look around and see where we are and see who we're with. And we can see clearly that they are, and this is harmless and benign. It can change very quickly once we recognize that the miracle simply changes what we believe we're looking upon. We allow that change to come in. The more you can keep your mind focused upon the goodness without opposite that we all are, the more your decisions stream from where we all are. So if you remember, become aware we're all in heaven together, and God has given us the Holy Spirit. You don't have to use Christian language. It's just easiest for me because I like A Course in Miracles, which uses Christian language. But you can put this in any language you want. You could say oneness. You could say love. You could say spirit. But in more Christian language, God has given us the Holy Spirit. And through that streams this corrected illusion that reminds us we have nothing to fear. We're innocent, and so is everyone we call else. We're whole and complete and unified, and everyone's in that wholeness and completion and unity with us right now. And as we learn to focus there, despite anything the ego's going to show us, anything at all, anything we'd be tempted to believe, we practice to put our beliefs down and to let this final illusion online instead. So the more that you can keep your mind focused upon the goodness without opposite that we all are, the more your decisions stream from where we all are. We seem to make many decisions every day. And if we just think about putting them in the right hands, some reactiveness might pop up. There might be a fear of loss of autonomy because we think through our autonomy, our sense that we're separate and we can get things for that separate self, we feed ourselves pleasure and we think we like pleasure, and we think if we lose the ability to feed ourselves pleasure, we're going to be miserable. Well, that's fantastic, because now that thought is up on the table. It's in the sunlight. It's not buried. So if I lose my ability to feed my perceived separate self pleasure, I'm going to be miserable. So I can set that down on the ground for a moment. If I need that thought, I can pick it back up. And I can focus on what I want to remember today. God is the light in which I see. I hope that was a lesson for today, or some version of it. That's in general what I've been focusing on. And that's a fine replacement for the thought I just set down. And if I seem to come back to this crossroads again, where it seems like I should gather pleasure for my separate self and enjoy that alone, cut off from everyone and everything else, and that will make me happy, then I have a chance to revisit it and to let it go deeper and to finally let it go. So every moment we spend focusing on what's real and intentionally setting down, at least for a moment, what's unreal, an illusion that's not real. There is no separate self to gather pleasure for. There is no pleasure that is not the joy and fulfillment of being in unity together forever. The ego's pleasure is an invention, it's an illusion. And Spirit knows what to do to gently lead us through and out of the nightmare we're making into the healed illusion, making it very obvious where we are, who everyone we call else is. Then we can see we don't need an illusion. So it's very easy to pull us out of it. But while we're holding on to the illusion with all our might, thinking it is us, we don't let anybody pull us out of it. Okay. These messages are the general marching orders from which the specific marching orders can stream. Here's where I got reactive to that. That sounded militaristic or like bossy, and I thought I like gentle better than, I don't like the idea of marching orders. But what came up there was, actually, you've been asking for very specific indicators. And just like with the title, how I heard, the tone I heard was very certain, very decisive, not aggressive, but just very calm and decisive. This was more like what I've been asking for. Tell me what to say. Tell me where to go. Tell me what to do. I'll do it. If you just make it obvious, then I'll follow it. So that's why the term marching orders was used, because if I say, tell me what to do, and I'm told to do it, it's very specific, then I can do it. So when I receive these messages, they're more general. They don't say, today you should go here and do this, and this is the place where I can get better at hearing throughout the day what it is I'm supposed to do or say or think. So this is practice and setting myself in the place where it's possible for me to hear throughout the day. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to say? Because I know I don't know. I can be aware, I can remember, but I can't know here. Knowing isn't something I can really do here. And that's, of course, an artificial distinction. Spirit's just using these words to make a point. Spirit might pick up the word know and K-N-O-W and use it in a different way tomorrow, but today they're using it in alignment with A Course in Miracles, the way it uses the word know. It's prior to and beyond time and space. It's not something that's available to us here, but remembrance and awareness and following, those things are available to us here. So these messages are the general marching orders from which the specific marching orders can stream. And I think it comes to all of us this way. We get a general sense first that there's another voice to listen to. And then we're given a means to practice, noticing which voice is talking to us, trying to tune into the sane voice, which is our voice, our one harmonic voice that we share. Being given a means to practice that, and then learning how to, throughout what we perceive as our day, follow that voice very consistently, and to hear it coming through others, everyone and everything. And that seems so big, but that's what we're bringing online together. The way it seems to come to you and through you might look public or private, might look special or ordinary. It doesn't really matter. Just the way you're given to learn and unlearn and practice and settle into hearing the voice of love that we share and following it is perfect for you and perfect for everyone around you. Okay, so that's everything. Wishing you happy healing today. Thank you.